Welcome on in. Yes, sir. If you listening, man, Earl the Pearl is in the building. We did this earlier today. The two-step, we was on the radio kicking it for 4 hours. We
We've been
back for
cooking all
another
day.
joint. We cooking
We've
all
been,
day, right?
we've been cooking all day. Hey man, like full disclosure, it's been a grind since yesterday. Like, like I think I wrapped up around midnight yesterday. It's right back at it, man. So
Yeah, I had a
what we
4 hour.
doing?
It's crazy because I had like a 4 hour joint that I was doing for another platform, and it was around the AFC North, and we was on for the whole second and third round. That joint was crazy. It was a lot of people, like it was just 4.5 hours, so it was a lot of work doing that. But we back on Ultimate Browns. We had to come do it for the home team on the platform.
Big facts.
Earl the Pearl G Bush here. We got a great show for you playing. We're gonna break down this draft the only way we can break it down on the UCSS network. We're gonna have a great show. We're gonna get into some fan mail, some fan reactions. So we got some stuff. And that's the great part about this show, man. If you haven't looked at the bottom of the ticker, right? We got a hotline, 216-345-4433. Anything you want to talk about and you want to get off your chest, just hit us up on the voicemail. Right now, we got 3 voicemails right now we're going to play in the show today. And you could talk about anything. Just make sure it's 30 seconds. Give your name, where you calling from, and give your take. So that's the best way to be heard here on the Ultimate Browns Network. How we do give you an opportunity to say how you feel. So we will have that for you today. We got Browns Day 3 draft picks. Jamari Thrash, wide receiver out of Louisville. We'll break that pick down. Draft is still going on right now. So as things come in, we will be relaying those messages to you. We're not going to play with you. We're going to make sure you stay in touch. So keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on the TV. We'll get to all of the day 3 picks with you today. And then, of course, we're going to come what we came to do is get to the day 2 recap. We got Mike Hall Jr. and Zak Zinter, guard from Michigan, and we're going to get into that as well. Don't be shy. Get your thoughts heard. Get your opinions heard. And we're going to dive right off into this thing, Earl. First pick, 54 overall. We thought it might have been a receiver. We thought it may have been some of the guys that our names that we talked about, but it turned out to be Mike Hall Jr., defensive tackle from Ohio State. What did you like most about that pick, and how did you feel when they made that selection?
I was all for it. On my last Ultimate 216 episode before the draft, I felt like, I said I put it out there that the pick should be in the trenches. And the reason being is because we suffered so many injuries on both sides of the ball when it came to the line. And I felt like, they overcame that, sure, but you don't want to be in that position again. Now, when it comes down to Mike Hall Jr. in particular, like, this is a dude that's quick on his feet. He's explosive. You know how to get to the quarterback from the interior. I know he might be a little size as a defensive tackle for most schemes, but in this particular scheme, for what Jim Schwartz is trying to do, he fits the mold 100%. And I think Andrew Berry touched on that in his post draft press conference when he spoke about that. Explosive off the ball. He had the highest pass rush grade according to PFF coming out in the Big Ten in 2023. Like I said, 22 quarterback pressures. I think there's still a lot of untapped potential there. You got to remember the kid is only 20 years old. And so, he has some maturing to do as a man and as a football player. But when you enter an organization that has the culture that the Cleveland Browns have now, and the coaching staff and the veteran leadership that the Browns have now, I think he couldn't be in a better situation. I think of all the draft picks that has been made so far, he's going to be the guy that might contribute the most, right? I think he's going to be in that rotation, and I think he's going to be groomed by the veterans that play that position. And you're looking at a guy who can be a starter at the defensive tackle position in 2025.
Yeah, listen, I loved what he was about, man. When you see it, and I think one of the things that happened, there was a run on defensive tackles. Once some quarterbacks went, and all the quarterbacks left, I think when you looked at the late part of the first round, you started to see the receivers go. Once the receivers went, I think people started to look at the best available in defensive tackles, and a lot of those tackles were coming off the board, right? So, to some people, you may think this, they will say this is a reach. At 54, but when you look at the climate of what everything was going on, it was a situation where he was a guy where you got a guy that fits your scheme. And I think right now the Cleveland Browns are starting to do things that are scheme specific. We see this a lot with the Baltimore Ravens. We see this a lot with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The way they draft players is based upon the defense they really run. And year in and year out, we know what the Steelers traditionally run under Dick LeBeau. We know year in year out the way the Baltimore Ravens like to play. So he's a guy that kind of fits the Jim Schwartz scheme. 3 seasons at Ohio State, titled 45 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. His best season was in 2023. He had 24 tackles. At the NFL Combine, ranked third amongst defensive tackles with an athleticism score of 86. And Earl, when you talk about the athleticism score of 86, I think that's what you want to look at. Not only guys that are athletic at end, you know what you have in Myles Garrett at end. You know what you got athletics with the athleticism of JOK. You know what kind of athleticism you have with Denzel Ward. Now you add a guy that's athletic and able to push the pocket and give you some pass rush beside a guy like Tomlinson, who was more of a run stopper. And now you start to build speed at each and every level.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think the athleticism plays a huge part into it, but I think he has good technique as well. And, I think Andrew Berry touched on that, so with him, I think the most exciting thing about him is just the explosion, right? Quick feet, I'm saying the speed, and being able to like understand his gap assignment and then attack it at his strongest suit. And I think that like being in this locker room with Dalvin Tomlinson, with Quentin Jefferson that's playing that position, and Mo Hurst and Shelby Harris, and you got some dogs that's in front of you that track record speak for itself. Not only will they teach him how to be a pro, but they'll teach him like on the field, like nuances when it comes to his technique and when it comes to different things like that. This is a Cleveland Browns organization that has turned over their roster so much, G, that we know who the main players are, right? Mm-hmm. And when it comes to this rookie class, this is a good situation because here's a kid who, I love the pick, but if I'm being honest with myself, I think there's much more to be desired, which is a good thing. Again, he's only 20 years old, right? And so, Kevin Stefanski alluded to, well, they are still developing us being as football players, and we believe that we can help them do that. Not only do we believe that, but the reason why we want them in this organization is because we want to be a part of that. And so that says a lot about this organization. And then you have to, I always talk about the unwritten intangibles, right? Or the unwritten measurables. And when you get an opportunity to go home to your hometown and play in front of like your hometown fans for a team that you rooted for your whole childhood, for a team that you always like selected on Madden when it was time to play the game.
It's different.
It hit a little different, right?
Right.
It's like there's an extra motivation in there to do the work. We hear Tyvus talk about all the time. Yeah, he was a second round pick. He didn't slip that far in the draft, but that competitive nature takes over you to where you see like, okay, like I'm getting passed on, right? But I think another thing that really works in his favor is, Andrew Berry has drafted this is his third Ohio State Buckeye that he's drafted, fourth like that he's added to this roster if you include Ronnie Hickman. So he got some guys around him that he know that can help him, get up to speed and things like that. So to me, this was a great pick. I think this is something that can have immediate payoff, but more than that, like the future return on investment is what this was really all about.
Yeah, listen, you said it like when you said like, me and you, like, I'm from Northeast Ohio. So you from the city. So it's like, when we grew up, it ain't just really no sports talk like that. It's like we've been doing this for so long. Like even before we even was getting a check, we was like, listening to shows. We was rooting for the Browns. We was putting together shows and trying to, talking about our home team. So when you get an opportunity to work here professionally from the team you literally like watch, from the team you've like been rooting for your whole life, no disrespect to anybody who is in this profession that may have not had roots here first, but it's different a little bit. That's why we be passionate on panel. Like when the Browns be losing, that be hurting. We be like, man, it messed my whole doggone weekend up. So what it is from him coming from Streetsboro, being able to kind of talk about that is a beautiful thing.
What? My man clarified that too before you go further. He clarified that. I think Scott Petrik asked him the question about being from Streetsboro. He was like, listen, I'm from Garfield Heights. I moved to Streetsboro like my last 3 years of high school because my mom got a job out there. I thought that was hilarious.
Hey, that's dope though.
Like,
Listen, and you change that in the press book, please. Yeah, change that up there.
like people in the chat, tell me if you know what y'all talking about. Like I tell people all the time, like back in the day, if you told somebody like you live in Euclid, you got to specify like I just live there. I'm not from there. I just live out there. Like,
where you from, homie? All the time they be like, D Bush. No, I'm from Canton, unfortunately. No, I'm from.
But yeah, but I thought that was hilarious, man. Like I said, that particular pick right there, I had no problem with it. I'm not gonna say that I kind of like singled out like him in particular, but he was one of the guys that name was in my mouth for the simple fact that I really didn't know who would be available at that position. You know, Mason Smith had went before him and was a guy that we had talked about a lot on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You know, we talked about Mike Hall a lot on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show as well. And so I thought the Browns did a good job of taking a particular unit that was the strength of the defense and making it even stronger, right? And so when you look at the entire defensive unit and anytime that you can add a guy that can help you in the immediate, that you're not really relying on to do too much, but you can also say, okay, I'm going to get great future like return on investment on. That's a win-win situation.
Yeah, listen, before we get into Zak Zinter, we want to do that really quickly. Before we get into him, we got a quick word from our people at FanDuel. So we're going to get into that, and we'll be right back on the other side. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on one app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We back at it. G. Bush, Earl to Pearl. We get into day one. We just went over, Mike Hall Jr., defensive tackle from Ohio State. Then we go to crosstown rivals, right? The biggest rivalry in all of America. We go ahead and double down and say on day two, we go and get a massive guy guard. Out of Michigan, Zak Zinter. We take him at pick number 85, 6'6", 322 pounds. And Zinter is one of the guys who, by the way, was a consensus first team All-American. And he played a bunch of games, a boatload of games. When you talk about for Michigan, Michigan would break. You got Corum, you got JJ. I don't know. I still don't know how he went. I still don't know how he went in the first round. Your boy JJ that went to
JJ
McCarthy, Roman Wilson goes. They had a bunch of guys. Chris, what's his name? Chris Jenkins, defensive tackle, went. So a bunch of guys. You expect a team when they win a national championship, they're gonna have a bunch of guys out there. Earl, when you saw they went offensive guard, right? I even have a tweet that said they took a guard. Right, I got the tweet out there. I'm like, man, when you at that point you had Jatavian, the tight end from Texas was still on the board.
Jatavian Sanders.
He was still on the board. Troy, Troy was still out there from Oregon. Troy Franklin was still out there. It was a bunch of receivers that we had known, guys that we thought was going to be on the board that we would have took earlier, and they take a guard. What were your thoughts when they did that, and how did you feel about the move overall?
I'm paying attention, but I'm also refreshing.
Right.
It's my understanding that the Cleveland Browns is currently on the clock. So,
I'm over here looking too. That's why I couldn't remember no names.
So looking at that, but so to answer you straight up, I like the pick. I'm not gonna lie, I did tweet out myself. I said, I kind of would have went Troy Franklin or Peyton Wilson, a linebacker, at that particular pick. But then when I thought more into it, I had no problem with them picking the guard. I really liked the guard from UConn a little bit better. Okay. I thought he was a little bit more versatile on that line, but after they made the pick, of course, I dug in and did some research on them. The irony of the situation is, I believe Mike Hall was the person who caused the injury that broke his leg. Two-time first team All Big Ten, second team All Big Ten, unanimous All American player. This dude is an absolute stud. He didn't allow not one sack last season at all. Right? You talk about his pass block game; it's phenomenal. This pick right here is another one of those trench plays that's a future pick. You won't see no immediate return on investment. If all goes well and everybody stays healthy, the man won't even play this year, which is a good thing, right? That's a great thing. But when you look at the Cleveland Browns offensive line, you have Wyatt Teller and Joe Bitonio with a $12 million and $11 million cap hit this year, respectively. According to overthecap.com, both of those dudes have $14 million cap hits next year, right? And so when you look at that and you look at how strategic Andrew Berry has been, I think he's done a good job of building the future of this offensive line, like beforehand, before he can actually deploy those weapons out there for us to see. And so, like, you see him drafting a guy like Luke Whippler and DeJuan Jones last year, right? And if those guys can continue to develop, I think DeJuan Jones is already going to be a stud and a star. But a guy like Luke Whippler can continue to develop, then cool, you got you one. And here it is, like, you get you another offensive lineman who I believe that can step in and be a very, very good football player. Kevin Stefanski said he fits the DNA of the Cleveland Browns. And so when you look at it like that, another quality pick, something that you won't have immediate return on, but the future return on investment, like, is there. You're going to have a guy that can be one of the best guards in the NFL playing on a rookie contract, while you got a guy that's becoming one of the best tackles in football in DeJuan Jones playing on a rookie contract as well. And so the question mark now becomes, okay, what are we going to get from Jed Wills? And Andy Dickerson, the new offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns, is going to have to, coach him up and see if he's that dude that can solidify that position for some years to come. But when you see this,
breaking news, breaking news: Cleveland Brown at pick 206 take Nathaniel Watson, linebacker, Mississippi State. Nathaniel Watson, linebacker, Mississippi State is the pick. So a lot of you guys were clamoring for a linebacker, so to speak. We talked about we didn't have enough linebackers. You take one from Mississippi State. I'm waiting for get guys to get on that YouTube train. I need y'all to be on YouTube looking at these highlights. Where are my scouts at?
All right, so this is what I got on him. He was a senior, 6'2", 245 pounds. He is from Maplesville, Alabama. 2023 season stats: he recorded 10 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, an interception, and had 35 solo tackles. 2018 college career, let me see, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23. The 10 sacks he recorded this year was the highest of his college career. 6 in 2022, 5 in 2021. Doesn't look like the dude really played much prior to that. So, yeah. Don't know much about him. That's just a quick, look up of Nathaniel Watson. I'm not gonna lie and say I know who this dude is or anything like that, but they definitely addressed another need of position, and here we are. So,
yeah, it's one of those things. Like, you talk about it. We'll get some information on Nathaniel Watson as he move. I like his production. 10 sacks in the SEC is dope. As we get time to kind of look over these guys, that's the thing about what's the name. That's the thing about the draft is there's so many guys, and everybody likes to make believe today. Ain't nobody watching no tape on him, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it in due time. So we'll be able to do that. But let's get back to just breaking down to Zak Zinter. I like the move. I thought when you take a look at the guards that you got, you're already paying them 12 million, 11, 12 million or whatever. They're getting in the age of 30. Plus, I thought Wyatt Teller played better than I thought Wyatt Teller played a little bit better than Joe Bitonio, but the year was vice versa. I thought Bitonio played better than Teller, not last year, but the year before that. So what you're looking to do is, I like you mentioned Luke Whippler. You got a center who you like it, and you kind of stashed away a little bit. Now you got a guard. You got DeJuan Jones, who's young. It's a make or break year over on the left side for Jed Wills. So, one thing that we looked at last year was everybody was hurt, everybody was moving around. Now you got some depth picks. Now you got some guys where, look, if somebody go down, you could plug and play and put somebody in there. For so long, like we made the joke, man. I don't know. I hate doing this, man. The worst thing you could be doing on day one of the draft is pulling one of the moves how I saw yesterday. They turn the draft pick in, they slide it in there, and all of a sudden, when they make the move, you see a bunch of dudes in suits in this one big war room just hugging and kissing each other and dapping each other. And I'm like, man, is this the second coming? If you need a dude to be the Messiah in the first round and you hugging people, that means your team is not good. That means, and so many times we see people, we were doing that same two-step where we like, oh my goodness, we got Trent Richardson. He done saved our. No, we need to have boring drafts. That's how you know you good. When you got a boring draft and you got guys who you really know nothing about, that's how you know you're doing your thing, Earl.
I mean, I guess it depends on how you view boring, right? Because like Andrew Berry said something in his press conference, like, and this was the first time I heard him sound a little irritated, but he basically alluded to like, it's not my fault if you don't believe me when I go up here and say what I say out my mouth. What you
think he meant by that though, specifically?
I think that a lot of people think he BS's us a lot, with his comments, and that he walks around what he's saying. But like one of the things that I've learned since I've been in this game is active listening. And when Andrew Berry speaks, man, I kind of tend to listen a little bit closely. That's why I felt comfortable feeling like, the first pick at least would be a pick in the trenches. And so when you see how he's building this football team, I don't think playing chess is boring, right? You see what I'm saying? That's why I say it's hard for me to call it boring, because Andrew Berry's sitting out here playing chess. He's looking at situations to where, okay, where can I get an immediate impact player for this team? And then where can I get guys now that can be future dogs or future contributors for the Cleveland Browns? And that's what the good GMs do, right? I don't think they worry about the high-profile guys. They go get guys that fit the DNA of their football team. And when you hear Kevin Stefanski, Cameron Justice from News Channel 5 did a phenomenal job in their interview with Kevin Stefanski, and he talked about just finding guys that fit what the Cleveland Browns do to fit their mold, and then looking for attributes that other organizations might have overlooked. And so to me, G, I don't know. It depends on the fan. To me, that's not boring. I think that's an organization that's playing chess while some people out here playing checkers and just trying to make a splash.
Well, now listen. Now, when I say boring, I think when you say, the draft is always a little more boring, right? When you don't have a first round pick, or you're not in the draft to take a skill position, or you're not looking for a quarterback. If you got all those things covered and you're taking a guy to guard, taking a guard in defensive tackle ain't really like the sexy thing. People not gonna get excited about
it ain't. It ain't. I get what you're saying. Yeah. That's why I say I think, I never tell people how to be a fan, right? But for me as a fan, that's not boring, because I'm looking at, okay, I see Andrew Berry just keep doing things that's like, man, that's impressive to the fan base. And I think you would agree with that. And so, I know a lot of people was kind of pissed off that he didn't really go wide receiver higher than what he did. He got another dude that's a project. I did speak to McNuggets about Jamari Thrash, and he said, very fast dude, but he has something like 11.2 drop rate. So basically, he's Anthony Shorts 2.0. Got a lot of speed, no hands.
Now here's another guy. We talked about this, and the reason I got this comment up is because we was laughing about that when we was talking about the route they may go in the draft and things like that. And George Devaney says our first pick next year will be a left tackle. And you were sitting there, we was laughing and joking. You said, people bad this year because they didn't go after a receiver with one of their higher picks in this draft.
Yeah, so let's set it up. So because honestly, this didn't even make the air. So when we was at 92.3 The Fan earlier, and when we was in between segments, I told G. Bush, I said, for the people that was pissed off that the Cleveland Browns didn't go get a wide receiver with their second round pick, which was their first pick in this year's draft, I said they're going to really be mad next year if Jed Wills don't pan out, and that very first pick is another offensive lineman. And so to your point, it's not sexy. It might be considered boring to most people, But that's Andrew Berry being smart with his plays. That's Andrew Berry being smart with his moves. Hopefully, you're not in that situation. Hopefully, Jed Wills is, back locked in. He seemed to have been playing better before he got hurt. Then when you get the game taken away from you in any aspect, that might kind of reignite a fire. So who knows how that'll turn out? With a fresh voice in that locker room, who knows? But if it don't work, I can will see that first pick being a tackle.
Yeah, listen, I think the first pick could be a tackle. I think it all depends on how Jed Wills really pans out. Because here's the thing: he's on the 5th year. If he's gonna get his money off, they're gonna have to pay him a boatload of money on an extension if he's gonna stay around and is not gonna be here. Before we get to the number 1 pick, or I would say the pick in day 3, Jamari Thrash, and we'll give you what we think of that. Let's get to another break, and we got another message from Monopoly Go. I've been told I'm competitive. Okay, well, yeah, I have a competitive side. We all do. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm ready to, I'm sure you heard of it, and it's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities and bringing in your big money. But the best part is messing with your friends. You can charge them rent on your iconic properties, just like the classic Monopoly. But now I can also rob their vaults of riches for myself, and the leaderboard show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can also team up with your friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get into the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store or Google Play. G. Bush back at it. Earl the Pearl is back at it. And we giving you the recap of the 2024. I don't know if you could call it a recap, Earl, because guess what? The draft is still going on. But for us, we giving you the main subjects, the main guys to talk about. And right now, listen, we get to our third pick for the Cleveland Browns. It was in the 5th round. They got Jamari Thrash, wide receiver, Louisville, in the 5th round, pick number 156, 6'1", 185 pounds, 23-year-old. And he's a guy who has some long speed, has had some productions at over 800 yards at Louisville. He's a guy who's, I believe, has 7 or 8 touchdowns. He's a guy who's a work in progress. But the thing that we talked about now is you're now building a skill set. You're taking picks based on things that you need and to see if you could be a developmental player, right? When you're drafted in the 5th round, it's kind of hard to find these guys, but when you can find guys like Puka Nacua, who you get in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, what you're doing there, Earl, is now you're setting yourself up. So now you have an opportunity to spend money elsewhere, right? These guys are coming in cheap on rookie deals. Just think about it. Cooper Kupp just had his career extended because you got a Puka Nacua, right? You got a guy that's a dynamic person. He's not breaking the bank. He's going to be under contract. And now you can allocate some dollars to other places to get better. So for the Cleveland Browns, just look how it went. Martin Emerson, a great opportunity. He came in as a starter. You had Greg Newsome, who was a 1st-round pick. Martin Emerson comes in as a 3rd-round pick and never relinquishes the position. He's a starter to this day. You take a look at what they've been able to find. Ronnie Hickmans of the world, guys like that who are rotational players, D'Anthony Bell. So it's always important to find late-round guys and picks like that, especially when they have a skill set that you can kind of develop. What was your thoughts on the receiver out of Louisville?
My initial thought was I had never heard of him. If I'm being totally honest with everybody here, I had never heard of him until the Browns made the pick. I did pull up his draft profile from the combine on NFL.com. They got him listed at 6 feet, 188 pounds. He had a 71 overall combine score. I think that ranked 27th out of all the wide receivers. The dude is fast though. 4.44 40-yard dash, got a 34-inch vertical leap. as you alluded to, he redshirted at Georgia in 2019, played in 9 games at Georgia State, 2019, played in 9 games in 2020. Dude ended up transferring to Louisville. He was second team All ACC. That's not bad at all. Led the team 63 receptions, 858 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns, and I believe he's rushed for a touchdown in his collegiate career as well. So, a lot has been said about Andrew Berry and his ability to draft wide receivers. Me and you talked about this earlier. Like, I don't know which is to be true. If you don't know how to draft them, or if the pass game coordinator and wide receiver coach don't know how to develop them, right? And so somewhere the truth lies somewhere in the middle there. Because I find it hard to believe that all these dudes that had pretty decent college careers can get to this level and all of a sudden they can't play football no more. If you look at the issues that was there for Cedric Tillman last year, a lot of that was route running, right?
Yeah.
Which is technique. And that's where your coaches come into play and should be able to help you at, is to improve your technique. And so, we'll see how things go because, Chad O'Shea is back still as the wide receivers coach and part of the pass game coordination. I'm not really putting too much emphasis on this pick. Probably a backup, a special teams player, if he even makes the roster. We don't anticipate every rookie to be drafted to make this roster. So I think this is, I'm pretty sure knowing Andrew Berry and Paul D. Podesta and Kevin Stefanski, they did their due diligence on this dude. Look at him as a raw talent, and they're going to do their best to get the most out of him. And if he works out, then this is just another steal for Andrew Berry.
Hey, listen, man, this Nathaniel Watson dude don't look too bad. You don't look too bad. Listen, we all YouTube scouts. So Nathaniel Watson don't look too bad. Like, what I'm saying, check him out real quick. Hey, what don't really look too bad. 370 people in here. Hit that like button for your people. You know what we doing, breaking it down. Cleveland Browns. I'll say this. I really like Troy Franklin. I thought he had the long speed. I thought he was going to be a guy they wanted. He was a little stiff in his hips, right? A little stiff. Also had some dropsies a little bit. So, and here's the thing. When you drafting at this juncture in the draft, I always think about it like this. When you drafting at this point, it's all about preference, right? It ain't really like you looking for things that you may like, right? If I'm a defensive line coach and I like a guy that can really bend or can run the hoops and really get after the quarterback, I may say, look, I don't really think that he's really of a straight line speed. He may run a 4.7. But here's the thing. I like the fact that he can bend a little bit. Let me take him. Right. So now you picking guys based on some things that you feel like you can mentor and mold and shape a guy into something. At this point, you're not going to be finding no. A lot of people are not going to be starters back here. So that's one of the things that you got to look at in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. If you catch somebody back here, that's awesome. If you catch somebody that's going to be an undrafted free agent, that's awesome. But I wouldn't get too bent out of shape about anybody after the 4th round.
No, I mean, not at all. I seen something in the comments. I think it was Tommy Pinkston. I actually agree with this, right? Like, again, I don't know who Thrash was until about a couple hours ago. And when you get this late in the draft, I think the draft is the roll of the dice and the crapshoot anyway. But your odds become lesser and lesser the deeper you get into the draft. And when you still got like a dude last name Rice and his father's first name is Jerry, like, that's pedigree. And I would tend to lean towards a dude that at least got the pedigree. At least he's been around the game. He at least knows what it looks like to be a pro. He at least knows what it looks like to see a work ethic, a Hall of Fame work ethic. And so, Andrew Berry know more than I do, but I would have took Jerry Rice's kid if it came down to that situation where you're really just rolling the dice at a wide receiver and seeing what happened. That's just me, though.
Yeah, it's very difficult to. And here's the thing, and I'm gonna get to this too. Like, so, and I'm gonna throw this out to you. I think a lot of it is we be sitting here tripping a lot, because to be honest with you, from the standpoint of Andrew Berry and a lot of people in the offensive set, it's kind of like I feel like they saying, look, it's hard to evaluate what anybody is. Right? So I think from a standpoint, think about it. You got You got Watson, played a couple games. You got PJ Walker. You got DTR. Then you came back to Watson. He got hurt. Then you got Flacco. I mean, you playing with 3, 4, 5 different quarterbacks, right? And the one thing that we talked about is none of these dudes played in the same offense with the same quarterback. Ain't none of these dudes really had the same offensive line for a certain amount of time. Ain't nobody really, like, the receiving core ain't been together. So from the standpoint of Kevin Stefanski, he's looking at it like this. We ain't never even really had our real offense around. We really can't evaluate none of our receivers like that. If we didn't even have our quarterback, we paid 3 first-round picks for to be out there. So they may think, look, we may think Cedric Tillman ain't no good, or David Bell or Elijah Moore was underperforming, but guess what? They can say, well, listen, we feel like when we get Deshaun Watson, the real Deshaun Watson back out here, you're going to see what a difference a franchise quarterback makes. And so they may not have thought that there might need to be no upgrades in certain areas because they haven't had that evaluation yet.
I think that when you look at David Njoku, I think David Njoku is the perfect example of being patient and just letting this thing play out. You know, back when I was a kid, I remember watching football and you see the expectation of dudes being the greatest player at that position, you know, within their first 2 seasons in the league was not what it was like in the late 90s, early 2000s growing up when I was watching football. You know, that was still an era to where, hell, rookie quarterbacks was getting drafted and they were sitting for at least a year or 2. And so, like, to me, I think that we don't show patience sometimes with some of these dudes. They come in here and understand, like, man, one, they still kids for the most part. And 2, like, they playing a grown man's game and they still learning how to be a pro and, you know, they still developing their skill set, etc. And so, saying all that to say, like, Andrew Berry often tells us these drafts are incomplete and it's hard to really get a full evaluation on any of the players drafted until 3 or 4 years down the line. So I don't think that Andrew Berry has given up on Cedric Tillman at all. And I don't think he's given up on David Bell. I don't think he's given up on Elijah Moore. He clearly has a lot of faith in Jerry Jeudy. He gave him a contract. And so when you look at that wide receiver position, I really believe that he believes that there's still a lot of untapped potential there and that there's still more to be desired. And I want to lean on the side of being optimistic with that because I've seen David Njoku develop into a Pro Bowl tight end. And if I can see him do that, then I can only have faith that, you know, with the coaching staff intact, with the culture being what it is, okay, they're going to continue to develop their draft picks. It might not look pretty year 1 or year 2, but you can see certain things that from certain guys that might be like, okay, this dude might be a stud down the line, or he might be a legit role player. And then there have been draft picks that you can look at and be like, yeah, that was a total swing and miss.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm gonna tell you this before but I'm gonna say this, and this is kind of off the beaten path. You know what's kind of scary? I forgot the Chiefs got Hollywood Brown.
And, I did too, to be totally honest with you.
And they got Worthy.
Damn.
They got, listen, I mean, that's the work. Who the Bills is tripping. Why would
they got and a rookie from last year, Rice. You know, he was a dog.
Bro, listen, I tell people all the time, they should have caught the Chiefs while they had a chance to catch them. What was the Baltimore Ravens doing? Y'all can't listen, you let them get Worthy. Like they now they have the deep threat again. Patrick Mahomes might be throwing the ball backwards, man. That's why for me, and I'm glad they did Project Stockpile. They did with the best they could because they stockpiled everything up, right? You know, we was preaching that. So yeah, like I'm actually glad they did that, but I'm gonna tell you what, Chiefs is they're a little scary offensively again. So
I mean, they're always scary offensively, and they always draft fast ass wide receivers. It's no different from when Tyreek Hill was there and they drafted McCole Hardman, right? This is how they go about business. They like speed at the wide receiver position. So to me, nothing the Chiefs did in this draft when it came to the wide receiver position was a shock, and it shouldn't have been a shock to no fans. Just go back over the history of them drafting that position since Patrick Mahomes has been there. This is just the next man up.
Yeah, and so you know, I look at it. So you know, we say this. And like I said, I was doing a draft, kind of a draft watch party with the AFC North beat reporters and stuff like that. And I was just saying, like, listen, AFC right now is I liked what the Steelers did. I like Peyton Wilson. I like what the Steelers did. I like the fact that they got a center. They didn't have a starting center. They went out and got one. I like the Mims pick for Cincinnati. That was a pick that I can respect. I like the Jermaine Burton pick too. So from the Bengals standpoint. So, in the AFC, everybody got better. The AFC continues to be one of those things. Harbaugh is in the division now, and in his team, he has some Harbaugh-esque picks. You know what I'm saying? He had Alt, came and got Alt in the middle. He wants the big physical guys up front. So, AFC just got more and more physical, more and more dominant as we continue to move along. Is there anybody that stands out to you who had a exceptional good day, Earl, or exceptional terrible day?
I mean, to be honest with you, man, I've been doing so much. I've really just been paying attention to the Browns. But when I kind of scammed out there, I thought the Eagles did a pretty good job of landing the top two cornerbacks in this entire draft. You get the dude from Toledo and you get the dude from Iowa. Like, man, and that was a position to where, they already needed a cornerback too. And their starting quarterback, their quarterback one, he's getting up there in age. I think he's going into the last year of his deal as well. And so you get to replace those dudes with two young stud defensive backs that's going to be playing on rookie contracts that would allow you to spend money in a lot of different areas. So, the Eagles did what they typically do. Like the year before that, they ended up with two Georgia Bulldogs, right? So somehow, some way, they find themselves getting their hands on some of the best prospects in this entire draft. I like what they did. I actually like the Michael Penix draft pick by Atlanta, if I'm being totally honest with you.
Really?
I thought that was a smart move by them. I could be all the way wrong, but I'm not a draft expert, so I don't really go around and spill my opinion publicly. But I did tell McNuggets in private that I thought he was the best quarterback out of the bunch that came out this year. Like, I just remember seeing him play at Indiana, and then I paid attention to him when he transferred. But if you look inside the division, I thought every team in the division did a damn good job of addressing needs and countering, it seemed like, what other teams was doing. I'll let you speak to this before the fan base watching. You told me earlier that, you got the vibe from the other team's beat reporters that there was a lot of respect for the Cleveland Browns defensive front. And you can see that with some of the draft picks that was made to try to counter what the Cleveland Browns do defensively. So.
Oh yeah, they were big time. Especially talking to the people over in Pittsburgh. They just talked about how, the defense was just devastating. He said, he even went as far as say this is why we had to get rid of Pickett. We couldn't do it. Kenny Pickett, we couldn't run that back like that. The Browns was so devastating that defensive wise, and think about it, go back to that first game. They had one or two plays, big plays. Pickens got this, quick slant, ran it to like 60, 70 to the crib. Other than that, the Browns defense was dominant that game when Nick Chubb got hurt the second game of the season at Pittsburgh. That game, that game wasn't a game where we got blown out or anything. Like, the defense was solid and ready to go the entire year. So a lot of people was making decisions and moves to make and make sure that they could stay up and make sure that they can compete with the Browns offensively, because defensively the Browns just was doing their thing. Coming up here, we got into our last segment of the show. We gave y'all a special hour. We told you we give you an hour. So we're going to get to our last break of the day. And when we come back, we got your questions. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. You got to start it with questions, so I know it's a real question that you want us to answer, so we'll get to them. And then we'll also get to your fan reaction. Some of your colleagues and counterparts out there in the fan base reached out to us on our hotline and had some of their thoughts heard live. You can do so as well. We'll go ahead and play that. But it's all coming up here on the Ultimate Browns on the UCSS Network. And you know what we do here over at Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We got something for everybody. Every single Monday, we got the Ultimate Guardians, Zach Meisel out on the Bull, Cleveland Guardians, the top team, best record in baseball. They break those things down for you, ready to go. Make sure you check that out on Monday. Every single Monday, you got the Ultimate Guardians. We don't even want to talk about the Cavs. We're going to leave that at where it's at. Every Tuesday.
McNuggets already did that.
McNuggets already did that. He burned the whole house down. I'll let him and your boy Jason Lloyd deal with that. Ultimate Cavaliers, you can catch that right here on the UCSS network as well. Earl to Pearl. You know, you see him over here on Ultimate Browns, but he does a tremendous job on his own show, Ultimate 216, a mix of sports and culture. Make sure you catch that every single Thursday. He's been doing big things over there, big numbers. Cecil Shorts has been on. Mary Kay Cabot was on. That's doing big numbers. So make sure you go out there and you definitely support every Thursday, Ultimate 216. You already know what you're getting over here 2 days a week, Monday and Friday, and with the Ultimate Browns. We got it on lock. It's the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show Network on YouTube.
Some of these questions coming in is interesting.
All right, some of these questions is coming in. Make sure you get them in. Here's what we're going to do. Before we get to your questions, we're going to get to the fan mail section of the show. And just like these three people, you can have your voice heard. Understand this. Don't play yourself. You can have your voice heard. Here's the banner at the bottom, 24/7 hotline. If you frustrated, you get up, you and your wife is arguing, just hit the voicemail. We'll, tell us what you want to think about the Browns, and we'll get that in. We'll put you may be heard on the show. With that being said, let's get to it with this segment, this episode's version of voicemail.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
What up, G. Bush? Just come to let you know, I just watch your little podcast on YouTube to say who we rather keep, Kevin Stefanski or Deshaun. Well, that's a tough question. I don't know why they do that, but truthfully, I would say that Kevin Stefanski. No offense to Deshaun, no knock on him, but the quarterback can always learn, new scheme plays and stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna say Kevin Stefanski. Keep him. He's more important than anything. So,
hey, G. Bush, man, I was over here just rewatching one of your clips, and you was talking about who's more important, Deshaun Watson or Stefanski, quarterback or coach. Man, right now with them two coach of the years, I'm running with start that franchise with Stefanski.
Yo, G. Bush, this is Richard. I'm calling from Canton, Ohio, Holstein City. I'm going to tell you right now, them picking up Greg Newsom's fifth-year option, smart. Very smart, because he had a good year this past season. Make sure he's going to have a better year. Go Browns.
And as you can see, that is our voicemail segment. You can get in contact with us, like we just said, man. If you want to get your thoughts and questions heard, hit us up. Our voicemail line is 24 hours a day, and you may hear your question or your comment right here on the Ultimate Browns. Now let's dip over to some of what we got going on over here. Let's get to this. We got some questions over here. Let's get to this. Let me pull this back so we can, figure this out. Let me take my ticker down. Give me a second. Here we go. Some of our comments. We got a super chat in here off the off the topic trade. Listen, that's how you get it done. That's how you get a Cavs comment on a Browns network. Off the topic trade for Darius Garland, if you can get one. Earl, I don't think his trade value is very high, given the fact that he's a smallish point guard. He needs the ball. He's not been shooting the ball well. I don't know. I don't know what you're gonna get for him.
I don't know what you're gonna get either. Batman, I tend to agree with you. I'm on the panel Monday. You on the panel Monday.
We're gonna get to that.
I'm not finna give them. I ain't finna give them too much energy. I do respect the super chat and thank you for it. But yeah, not on this platform. But hey, McNuggets went off on the Cavs, man. If you have not watched the Ultimate Cavs show yet, I highly suggest you go back and watch that. He was going off.
All right, let's check. See if we got any questions. Let's see. Maybe I'm missing something. Do we see anything that says question? We looking. This is kind of hard. Let's see. Let's see. You see one? If you see one, read it.
It says, does Siaki Ika start next year? I don't think so. I still think Siaki. I'm not sure if he'll make the team or not. I think he'll be given an opportunity to earn a roster spot, but going into year 2, didn't play at all. I don't think he played at all last year. If he did, it was barely at all. I think he still got some growing and learning to do, which is okay. You know, you got 3 or 4 defensive tackles, and then you just drafted Mike Hall that's going to be in front of him. So I don't think at all. No.
Yeah, well, you know, Siaki Ika, you got to think about it. If he's going to start, like, he would have to start over Tomlinson, who he's not starting over Tomlinson because Siaki Ika is a regular nose. Also, you know, you go look at the depth chart. They already have him, Mike Hall, already in rolling with the 2. So you got to think about it. You know, you take a look at, you know, Mike Hall by the end of the year could be your starting defensive tackle. I mean, because you look at it, you know, Shelby Harris has always been majorly injured. You know, you got some guys. Jordan Elliott's no longer on his team. So, you know, he got a good opportunity to play. So I think Siaki Ika, he better hope he's a rotation guy, but I don't think he's going to be starting.
Yeah, I mean, he, like I said, this roster is in a good situation. I'm going through. We got Alex that says, question, besides the Browns, who's the number 2 team in the city? To me, it's the Cavs. It's the Cavs.
It you know how it works. It kind of fluctuates. It's like, you know, we kind of whoever is better. Like if the Guardians is good, people will rock with the Guardians. You know, they've been more successful, but the Cavs are the only team to win the championship in the city. So people are pretty loyal to them. It's a good atmosphere down at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. So it's I think it's cyclical. Whoever has the hot hand, who's doing well, I think those two, I think they kind of battle for second place. But it's so crazy. The distance between second place, Earl, and first place is crazy. It's like Browns is 96%, bro. It's like crazy.
And the Browns didn't win a game, and they were still first place.
That's
like
crazy.
I remember as soon as the Cavs won the championship, the first thing I heard was, man, imagine if the Browns won the Super Bowl. We got Pee Wee said, question, why do fans love to downplay the Browns but praise and glaze over other teams? It is so sad. You want to address Pee Wee before I do?
Well, listen, I think it is. Well, here's the way I think about it. So, and this may be kind of crazy to y'all. So when we was coming up, the Browns weren't very good. And I think that what happened was there was a generation of people on sports talk radio or just news in general that made it cute to say we're the lovable losers, right? So basically what happened is there's a industry that was built on guys trying to one up how bad you can say the Browns are. So you can become famous just by having great Browns rants or saying how much of a dumpster fire they are or talking about how much of just random conflict is in the front office. So it became like a crutch. Now it's easier to say the Browns are bad than actually analyze why you think they may be good. So it's hard to break that habit, right? You know, the Browns aren't a team that is horrible. They made the playoffs last year. The Browns have a very stacked roster. So when you're bad for so long, it's kind of hard to turn the page in people's mind because they're just so used to talking about how bad you are.
I mean, but he's talking about the fans. I mean, I would just tell Pee Wee, you know, as a fan yourself, man, the one thing you can't worry yourself with is how another fan fans, right? Because you wouldn't want nobody to tell you how to fan. And I think that when it comes down to it, I think everybody has an opinion. They're entitled to their opinion. And some people can look at their team and, you know, have a unbiased opinion on what their team did or didn't do and look at another organization and say, well, I like what they did better. And that's just them being honest with themselves and being honest with their opinion. I don't think that's them necessarily like, you know, praising and glazing. Some people just are like that. I wouldn't read too much into it, though. My only suggestion would be, and I would suggest that this was told to me, don't tell somebody else how to fan, man. That if you don't worry about that, you won't be irritated by it.
Here's how I look at it. Sometimes people do this in its human nature. Sometimes it's easier to not get your hopes up so you'll never have to be deflated. It's difficult for some people to put all their hopes, dreams, aspirations in on the season or how a game going to turn out and it don't turn out right. then you left with that raw emotion. It's easier to just be like, I never cared anywhere. We were not going no good to really face what it is. I just think, that's part of human nature. And sometimes that plays a role into it at the end of the day.
But you know what, though? I respect the passion, though. Like that's a Browns fan. He don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? He don't want to hear how good the Steelers is, the Bengals is, the Ravens is, his fandom, the emotion behind his fandom. And I don't know him, but my opinion is, it's like, man, F them teams. And some people got that approach. Like, I'm like that when it comes to Michigan. I really don't give a damn what they do. F Michigan. At all times. So it's like,
funny. You get. I feel like when you say, F them teams. Like, I don't like to. Like, here's the thing. I don't like the Steelers, and I would like to see them lose every game. But I'm not gonna blindly ever just say the Steelers are terrible when I know they're not terrible. Like, I can respect. I can respect the game to be like, you know what, the Steelers, I want to beat them every time, but game recognized game. I like the way they do X, Y, and Z, or they got X, Y, and Z player, you know what I'm saying? Just to figure it out, I got to keep it real, you know what I'm saying? So, it's a bunch of different ways to look at the game. Fans look at it in a bunch of different ways. That's the cool thing about sports. You got an opportunity to rock how you want to rock. Soul Train says, hoping for the best. Thank you so much for the super chat, brother. Appreciate you. Hoping for the best. Go Browns. Any more? You see any more questions in here?
That's a lot in here, man. I'm gonna go through them, man. Shout out to everybody. 382 still kicking strong. We done been in this boy. Look, man. I'd have been working for like a million hours in a row.
Right.
Going on. We done been in this joint 56 minutes, man. And we doing everything. We're gonna get through as many questions as we can. You know how we do it at UCSS. We do our best to show up and show out for y'all at all times, man. We can't thank y'all enough. Somebody had a comment earlier in the comments that said congrats on our Emmy nomination, man. For everybody at UCSS, man, we definitely thank you for that. We worked our ass off to just even get nominated. We got to bring it home, though. Let me go find another question real quick.
You know what's so funny? I didn't even know that. Maybe I'll be doing. They was like Emmy. Like, I think Jay said something about it. Emmy nominated. I was like, oh, that's.
Man, we talked about it before the show Friday.
Yeah, he was like,
he was out of here. Mel said at Earl of Pearl, it was a Cecil Shorts boxing coach at Glenville in the mid '80s. Is he related to your dude? So yeah, you probably talking about CS2. My homeboy is Cecil Shorts III. From what I understand, his father Cecil and then his uncle Kevin. They both, went to Glenville, played football. His grandfather actually boxed. Fun fact, G. Cecil's grandfather was on a Muhammad Ali undercard before.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So shout out to the Shorts family.
That's crazy.
We got here. Trying to find some more questions. This says, with the players that the Browns drafted, how many will be immediate impacts or are more for the future? I think that they're all for the future. I think the only one, Gene, you tell me if you see anything different. The only one that might have an immediate impact, I'm gonna go ahead and say, is Michael Hall. I think he's going to be in that defensive line rotation. I think he's going to get his opportunities early on to show what he got. But I also think he's a dude that's kind of stashed away to be a future starter. Same thing with Zak Zinter. And then the linebacker we drafted, my brother told me to go watch his film. I'm gonna watch this film, and by the time I'm on a panel on Monday, I'll have a more, spirited take about the player. So, but his measurables look good. I heard his highlight tape look good. Can't wait to kind of jump off of here and look at that. But I don't think none of these dudes was drafted to be immediate impact guys. And Barton, to be totally honest with you, that's what you want. That's how you know the Browns is headed in the right direction, to where we ain't dependent on rookies to change our fortunes.
I think Hall could be a rotational guy on some pass rush downs. I think you should progressively see him get a little more minutes as time goes on. One thing that you always got to realize is, last year we didn't plan on nobody getting no minutes, and then we ended up with no tackles, and Ethan Poach missing games, and I think the only guy that didn't miss games was Wyatt Teller. So. Injuries happen. We end up losing a lot of defensive tackles. We lost a lot of people banged up. So football is a sport where you never know, the next man up syndrome. And so we use Ronnie Hickman, guys like that. McLeod played last year. D'Anthony Bell played last year. So, he may see some time. I think he can get some minutes on pass rush early, and then we'll see how it works throughout the rest of the year.
All right, you can go ahead and read that one, G. While I search for it.
Tommy Pinkston says, would y'all start Wills, Jedrick Wills and Conklin because of their contracts, or who plays the best? I'm plugging in Big 79 for sure. I think Conklin, and Joe Thomas said this on the show last week. I think that clip is up. Y'all can go check that out over on UCSS. That interview's up. I think he talked about it. He said Jack Conklin is the odd man out. He said he's probably going to have to prove that he can still stay healthy. He did get his contract extension, but as today, I'm going with Wills and Big 79 for sure. DeJuan Jones on the other side. And, who knows, Conklin can be more of a swing tackle if Jed goes down. But right now, I'm with Wills and DeJuan Jones. What do you think, Earl?
Oh, for sure, DeJuan Jones starting. Wills, I don't know. Like, I think I don't know. I mean, Conklin suffered a major injury. I don't know how well he'll bounce back. Conklin, when he's healthy, he is one of the better tackles, or was one of the better tackles in football. DeJuan Jones is for sure a starter. Joe Thomas alluded to that, right? Like, he's earned the right to be the starting tackle for the Cleveland Browns. And then you just got to let the other two dudes battle it out and see how it works out. But yeah, Big 79 for sure was a starter. I don't think it's a doubt in anybody's mind about that.
Yeah, we came and did our thing. I think he's gonna that's gonna be a camp battle. I think that'll be something that you'll look out for. Are the Browns the third best team in the AFC North? Until further notice, I would say yeah. I can't put them ahead of the Bengals. If Joe Burrow is right, I think, but it's very close. They're like neck and neck because the Browns play well with the Bengals all the time. They play well against them. And I think that the Bengals defense took a little bit of a step back with DJ Reader. So to me, I would have the Bengals slightly above them. I would have the Ravens, but I think the Ravens got a little worse too. So the Ravens, I think the top three teams, the Ravens, the Browns, and the Bengals are very close. I wouldn't be mad if you said either one of those teams, either three of those teams were the best team in the AFC North. So it's very clear. I do have the Steelers because of Russell Wilson, not knowing what they're going to do at quarterback. I got them young offensive line. I got them last, but the other three are very close.
I mean, for me, they're all very close. I would kind of lean towards the Browns having a better roster than a Raven, or a better team than the Ravens right now. And they lost a DC. He became a head coach in Seattle, and I think that's going to be a significant loss. They also lost Patrick Quinn, and so you lost impact at position. Jadeveon Clowney,
three starting offensive linemen. They lost two.
Yeah. Like Jadeveon Clowney was somebody that ball for them, as you just alluded to. They lost three starting offensive linemen. So, for as good as the Ravens is, and of course, anybody in that city trusts Harbaugh to do what he always do with that organization, had them competitive, and in a situation to win. But here it is, a lot of these teams around us, it seemed like they subtracted in key positions, and the Browns kind of got stronger in their staff. They kind of got stronger, in certain positions groups. So I would put their Browns roster probably second right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. I ain't mad at that. I ain't mad at that. If either way you was gonna go with it, I wouldn't be mad if they put either three of them up there. So it looks like we rounded it out. We got any more left? 605. Going once, going twice. Sold to the highest bidder. We came in, we did our thing. Coming up, are you on the panel Monday, Earl?
I am on the panel Monday. You on the panel Monday?
Yeah, so make sure y'all tune into Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on the panel Monday. We will have a great jam-packed show for you, right? We'll be reacting to the Cavaliers. I'm sure McNuggets will have some great topics for the Cavs. I will be able to give you the full roster of guys who the Cleveland Browns have drafted, and we'll probably take a look at some of the undrafted free agents that they're going to come in as well.
Hold on, before we get out of here, I gotta address this, right? And this is unplanned improv too. Can't wait till Earl cuts his hair at the Super Bowl parade. So, this week, Bally's is some assholes. So, you got to find different ways and different creative ways to watch the Guardians.
Right.
And I was going to watch, I was sitting at the bar watching the Guardians game, and a fan of this show was just chopping it up with me the entire time.
Okay.
And the dude told me like he was one of like the people that was always in the chat criticizing me. Like, he kind of thought I would just be up there saying whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got around me. And so we just got to talking about life. This has came up a couple of times about me and my hair, people saying like if somebody offered you millions of dollars, you wouldn't cut your hair, that you lying. And like, I know people think I'm lying, dude. I can't be bought. Like, there's no amount of money that you can offer me to make me cut my hair. If I was to ever cut my hair, it'd be because of a decision that I personally made. A lot of my, like, they call this a lock journey. And so as your hair go, you in different phases of your life. And what some people don't understand is my lock journey started the same year my father passed away. So there's sentimental value that's tied into me and my hair. So I promise y'all, there is no amount of money nobody can offer me that's gonna make me cut my hair. I am not built like that.
Well, listen, Earl is standing on it, and you can't knock a man for standing on his principles. But if anybody's willing to give me $1 million to cut my hair, please bring that deal over here with G. Bush. I'll cut my wife's hair.
Creative Juice, though. Shout out to you, though, man. Like, you one of my favorites, dog.
We'll get to that, man. But there is, shout out to, at one point in time, I do look. You gotta think about it. Not sure, and Earl can attest to this.
He showed me the picture. The man had braids in his hair. He had cornrows. People that got cornrows, y'all cannot. People who got cornrows, like they feel some type of way about people in the lock community. We doing things that they can't.
Man, I had started. I ain't had no cornrows. Them a starter locks. Don't you downgrade my locks like that? Listen, I had a journey too.
Your journey lasted as long as my ride to work. 15 minutes.
It was a moment in time.
Hold on, the Browns is on the clock before we get out of here, man. That's at least.
We'll at least give you that, right? We're giving you overtime, a little bit overtime. The Browns is on the clock, 2:27, pick 2:27. And we can't promise you that we know who it is or have any tape on him. So don't get excited. Oh my gosh, you didn't know who they're picking. I don't know none of these cats. Picks in. Let's see who the Browns.
I don't know him, fam.
I don't know him. We are not related. Let's go. Selection is in. Who did they pick? Did the Browns take him?
Yeah, y'all tell us who it is. I ain't got no TV around me.
It looks like they took Brendan Rice. Or am I late?
No, Brendan Rice went to the Cardinals.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's somebody else that had a pretty good draft, man. They really got Kyler Murray some weapons. Like, I had to really think about it. Like, we kind of like rank on the Cardinals a lot. The Cardinals did come out here and beat a couple teams last year. Nobody expected them to beat. Right. And Marvin Harrison is a dog. So no matter where he be at, I think he's gonna have to get.
Cardinals had a nice draft. The Cardinals and the Commanders had 97 picks. They picked I felt like they was always on the clock. What we got? The pick. They keep saying the pick is in. No, the Chargers took Brendan Rice. Okay, that's a hardball pick. All he wants solid pedigree. You know what I'm saying? That's what he want, pedigree. He don't care nothing about 40 times. Like, he'll draft a fullback and be like, I just like that he's hard nosed. He's a hard.
And somebody said, keep talking, y'all, just so we can get the last pick in. Yo, man, we still hanging at like 375 plus, man. We've been in here like over an hour. Like, y'all, man, listen.
Y'all dope, man.
G, your fan base go with you everywhere you go, man.
And
hey, drop a 1 in the chat if you was listening to the barbershop this morning. Since we gonna wait around and see who it was. I want to know your fan base who crosses platforms on a regular basis, right?
Right.
And be honest. Drop a 1 if you listen to the barbershop
on Saturday morning earlier. Man, this is wild, man.
I'll be cooking on them rejoins, y'all. Like, and listen, and just a word. If y'all don't hear, put the word out, we back up. That means I'm not producing. Is that not facts, G? If you don't hear, put the word out, we back up, and G Bush's intro before the actual intro start, that means I'm not in that joint producing. Somebody else is.
So that is,
like,
we do not endorse that. That's funny. We don't endorse where that's popping off.
Yeah, man. But like, I'd have been with this dude since like 7:40 this morning.
That's crazy.
I've been with G Bush since 7:40 this morning, and it's 6:10. Cody said the pick is in. Shout out to everybody dropping the ones. Shout out to everybody that's dropping the twos, that's keeping it at 100. Listen, if you did not, man, I encourage you, man. Next time my man is in that seat, pull up. We have fun there just like we do here. We bring the same energy across the board.
Man, this is wild. They over here like, I think the Browns pick is in and they doing like a memorial or something. Like, I'm like, man, this is sad. Like, they're like doing like the people that was with them. Yeah, like
man.
I thought I had the wrong channel.
They playing that gangster lane.
I didn't know Stump the Schwab was he passed away.
Who?
I didn't know Stump the Schwab passed away.
Wow.
Man, I don't know, man. It's hard. That's tough, man. I wonder what made them. I wonder what made them do this.
Hey, listen, they not gonna do that. You see the comment, G? They not gonna do that.
Nope.
They not gonna do that. They should, but they not gonna do it. They not gonna do it. But hey, that's why we here, baby.
we just kicking it, man. They really just skipped our pick and just like go to break. Like, I wonder who their version of McNuggets is for the draft. Hey, I think we should do this. We should tell stories like before we get to know what who the pick is, because I gotta see it on the screen. I wonder.
According to Mary Kay Cabot, the Browns select South Dakota State defensive back Miles Harden at 227th in the 7th round. At 227, pick 227 in the 7th round. So South Dakota State defensive back Miles Harden.
Well, listen, you know he's gonna be an All-Pro. You know what we do with DBs over here.
Oh, for sure. I don't give a damn what round we get a DB in. Listen. AB draft a DB, Browns in 4. I don't care where you draft him at. I don't care where.
Cooper
DeShane Bill and Ronnie Hickman, they wasn't even drafted. So listen, that should tell you everything you need to know.
Just do South Dakota. He's locked down right now. Like, I don't know who he is or what numbers he's gonna wear. He's a DB, and DB OGs get their money off.
Hey, somebody said, "Hey, I remember. You remember this?"
Hey,
and I was playing the Meek Mill Who Dreams of Nightmares intro. Man,
that was crazy. And then we turned around and got smoked. Like,
hey, and that's how you drop the bar on this.
Yeah, and that's how you dropped it. We want to appreciate all 300 some odd people in there, man. We're gonna come back and recap this. Thank you for the support, and we'll be back on Monday.
You know,
yeah, man. And I want to shout you out. Thank you. You didn't have to do that, bro. You didn't have to pull up and do the show, but you know what I'm saying? I always salute when you pull up, and you know what I'm saying? Last week, Steve was like, yo, let's do this thing. And you was like, you was the first one to volunteer, like, yo, let's do it. So I appreciate you, man. And make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Make sure y'all check out 216 Ultimate 216. But don't be giving them more views than me. I don't like that. I'm Scorpio.
I already get the shoes he don't get.
Yeah, I already get the shoes. We gonna
get the J he can't get.
Yeah, see, we'll see. Listen, I'm petty like that. Don't be. Listen, get him right up underneath. But Ultimate Guardians and Cavs, yeah, extra hit his buttons over there. We ain't. I'm playing with y'all. With that being
said, love y'all, man. RP Jim Brown, man.
We'll catch y'all on Monday. Happy draft day. Hope you got who you want, and if you didn't, kick rocks. The Browns still are good.